I have seen so many questions in mothers forums, holistic forums. Where can I get lotion or where can I find clean products and things like that? And I love that people are asking these questions because there are so many chemicals, preservatives, things that disrupt our hormonal expression in our products these days that I get excited when I find companies that are mindful of what it is that they are putting as ingredients in their products to be able to serve other people. Join me this week as I sit down with Renee Harris and we talk about her incredible skincare line that is so clean. And when a lot of what you put on your skin ends up in your body, this is an episode you won't want to miss. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am joined today by Renee Harris. Welcome to the show, Renee.
Hi, thank you. It's good to be here.
So I have had the privilege of using some of Renee's brilliant products, and they've been amazing for me and for my family and for my little guy. And I had a beautiful soul connect me with Renee. And so I wanted to bring her on the show to talk about her amazing company, her products, what she does, how she got there. So tell our audience, Renee, who you are and what you do.
Thank you. And first, I have to say that having a mutual friend in common that will talk about my products to somebody else is the best way to meet new people. I just love that because everybody has their own skin story. My story kind of started with my own skin issues of super dry skin. So we can go into the products in a minute. But my now story is we turned that into a full-time business that supports our family. And our family's not very small. We have 9 kids. The oldest is 27 and the youngest is 9. My daughter corrected me a couple of hours ago because I mentioned to somebody that she was 8, and that is a big no-no to a 9-year-old. So I said, I'll get it right this time, I promise. And so we have 6 kids out of the house. I have a grandson now, and I still have 3 at home. So the youngest are the 9-year-old, 14-year-old, and 16-year-old. So I've had every kind of birth. I think I qualify for the Reproductive Rebel because I've had a lot. And I've had all types of births. So that's our story in a nutshell.
I love that. So all types of births, meaning home birth, in the hospital.
Yes. Yep. I started when I was pregnant with my first. Everything was what to expect when you're expecting. Like that book was the Bible for birthing, and I didn't know anything else. And my mom was a nurse and my mother-in-law is a nurse. So we kind of just did things traditionally, as far as conventionally, I guess, not very traditional. But so that was just the hospital, the epidural, the Pitocin, the whole 9 yards, healthy baby, which was a good ending to that at least. And then baby number 2 was kind of the same thing. But by then I was a little bit more interested in natural breastfeeding and being more natural as far as the baby raising goes. And then I met someone who had a home birth, and a friend of mine who just got me all excited about that. I didn't think my husband would be on board, but he actually was. So we decided to go interview a home birth midwife. We were all excited about that, except that about 6 months in, she said, you need to go get a sonogram because I keep picking up 2 heart tones. I didn't believe her. I was still skeptical about the whole home birth thing. I'm like, you know what? She's a home birth midwife. I mean, really? And so I kind of wasn't really, I was still skeptical. And I just put it off until she said, I need to know. You just need to go in and get that done. So we did find out we were having twins. And this was in a state where in Colorado at the time, she probably could have, but it wasn't legal and all that stuff. So I ended up having to go in for the birth. And that ended up being a C-section. But I think that was my trigger moment of, wow, there's got to be a better way. I felt like it was a quick, not necessary C-section, but I didn't have enough information and I just wanted to be more knowledgeable. So that was by then we had 4. And then baby number 5 was the first home birth with that midwife. And then we moved to California and I went on to have 6, 7, and 8 home births. And then my youngest one ended up having to be a C-section due to placenta previa. A little bit of the wanting to home birth was due to knowing that in certain cities like where I live, I would not be able to do a VBAC. And it would all of the subsequent pregnancies would have been a C-section. So I was just really glad to have knowledge. I don't have like massive regrets about the first 2. You just know what you know. But as you learn and grow and know more information, it is nice to know that you do have options.
Yeah, I feel that deeply. I started with my daughter in the traditional allopathic model and got halfway through and was doing my birthing class, which I had chosen hypnobirthing. And she was like, well, if you're in the hospital setting, it would be like this. And if you're in the home birth setting, it would be like this. And she was very diplomatic. Everything was given the same weight, emphasis. There was no leaning one way or the other. But I was like, she keeps mentioning this home birth thing. What is she talking about? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. You go into it, especially as a first-time parent. And I find that there are a lot of first-time parents that also get on the other side of it and go, man, I wish I had known. Fill in the blank. There's so many things that like until you're in it and until you've walked through it, you either don't know to ask or we're just kind of fed like the boilerplate template of this is what you do. And then you do this and then you do this. And then you do as the standard protocols of care are like that in the hospital setting as well. And so I pulled her aside after class and I was like, you keep saying home birth. What do you mean by that? That's when she like got a little casual because she's like, it's exactly as it sounds.
You're not in the hospital.
I'm like, but what happens? And she's like, you birth a baby. Kind of like, duh, man. And I'm like, it didn't compute. Okay. This was almost 14 years ago. And there wasn't a lot of talk about it, the awareness around it. Like, I really feel like in the last few years, home birth has come a lot more into the limelight. But, you know, even 10 years ago, it wasn't something that was really talked about as much. And with my son, I have a 7-month-old son at the time of this recording. And when I gave birth to him in the fall, I just knew after having a home birth with my daughter, that's what I wanted to do. I was actually way more terrified I was going to end up in the traditional model than being home. And my husband had never experienced, because he had kids from a previous marriage and he had never experienced a home birth. And he was kind of reluctant at first. Deeply resonate with what you said about your husband going, no, I'm supportive of this. At first, Eric was, but what happens if? And I'm like, well, I'm the same distance from the hospital that I was when I had my daughter. And any way you look at it, you're going to be at the mercy of whoever's on call anyway. So, like, you're not going to get to choose your provider. This way, I've built a relationship with a provider. I'm going to feel more comfortable in this setting. So I did. I birthed him at home, and it was a beautiful birth, and he's amazing. And so I feel very fortunate that I've been able to have 2 home births with my kids. And I like that sentiment around the fact that the more I knew, this felt more aligned to me, because home birthing it just feels like that rite of passage that women for generations have come through before us.
And it's amazing because I know every subsequent home birth I had, I still felt like I kind of know what I'm doing, but I need someone to tell me when it's time to push, which sounds kind of ridiculous. But I was constantly at the mercy of my midwife. I'm trying to read her face to see if she's looking like I'm ready. And really, it's on me. And I do know once it got to that point, I realized, oh, yeah, I'm ready now. But up until that point, you are expecting someone to give you the timeline, to tell you how far you are. You just want to know, how long is this runway going to be? And then once you hit it, you realize, okay, here it is. But we're so conditioned to be told by somebody, even birthing your own baby, you just get so used to that whole, this is how long it's going to take. And it's not like that. Everybody is so different. So it's just a really different mindset switch. And then it's beautiful at the same time, because just that end of it, and you're pushing the baby out, and it's just, wow, all that work. Okay, I can breathe now. It's just it's just beautiful. And I know it's not everybody gets to do that and have a great home birth, but compared to the hospital births, I just really felt so either rushed, or I didn't have a choice or a way to do things my way. It was like, they're on a schedule. You can't spend all day there. You can't even get around off the bed and move around and walk it off. Whereas at the midwife, she says, well, you could just go take a walk if you feel like it. I'm here when you need me. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Being able to swag and growl my son held in the comfort of my own home. There's no way I think I could have done that in a public place.
Exactly.
Well, so you had this movement in your birthing life and in your personal life towards more naturally aligned practices. And I feel like where you are with your skincare line, that also kind of followed some of that mind shift. You want to elaborate a little bit on that? And now a word from our Reproductive Rebel sponsor, Embody Space. Your cycle holds wisdom, and the Embody Space cycle tracking app helps you unlock it. Track your cycle in the only fully encrypted app designed to protect your most sacred data. Get daily guidance tailored to every phase, from bleeding to blooming, with rituals, herbs, lifestyle tips, dietary support, and more. All tailored for your body's natural rhythms, because your body's story is yours alone. Embody Space, your private portal to cycle wisdom. Download now and reclaim your rhythm. And now, back to the show.
It's really interesting, because it wasn't like I had a huge backstory of some massive skin condition like severe eczema, and then went down the road of steroids, and then it wasn't like that. It was more, I just had, and even though I was doing natural homemaking type things, I was making our own meals, I was making yogurt, I was making kombucha. I was kind of like figuring things out back then, sometimes just to save money for the family. I wasn't working outside the home, so a lot of it had to do with that. It was just that everything felt better. You feel better when you eat well. All those little things that you might have to do because it's a financial reason, but then you just realize it makes a lot more sense too, which is freeing to know that it just makes sense. The more natural, the more simple. Going outside barefoot, all of that just makes more sense. And so at the time, it was just a skin issue that I had with my fingers. Like those deep cracks you get in your fingers. I mean, with lots of kids, you're washing your hands all the time. And I would get them in my heels, because I do love going barefoot all the time. And so it was just, that was my issue, was just my skin. And my mom had stumbled upon a lotion bar at a farmer's market that someone had given her. And she told me about it and said, you know what, why don't you figure out how to make this? Because this completely fixed my skin. And she and I had always compared notes about all the different products we tried, and gloves and Band-Aids and everything. So when she said this worked for her, I was paying attention. And so I was able to actually find a recipe in some soap forum. Back then, everything was done in forums where you learn from things. And I just went to the local health food store. I grabbed the 3 ingredients that were in the bar. It's the same ingredients, the same recipe that we use. And that's been 20 years. Has it been 16 years now. So 16 years ago is when I made that first bar of lotion. It's called Lotion Bar. And that's the same thing that we then took to the internet and we are making a business out of now. But it was that simple 3-ingredient. It's a bar of soap. There's no water in it. The fact that it doesn't have water means you don't have to have all of these preservatives. We have some scented bars just because some people do really want that scent. But we have the basic bar has no scent except a little bit of honey scent because there's beeswax in it, and then shea butter and coconut oil. And you just rub it over your skin. It looks like soap, but it's not soap. And you stick it in the tin and that's it. So it's super easy to use. And the best thing for me at the time I made my very first bar was that it was so effective and fast and it felt good. It didn't feel like you have to keep reapplying and reapplying. So after making the first bar, a few months later, there was like a little sign in town saying that they were going to open up a farmer's market. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of fun. So I decided, let's just go see if we can just sell this, put up a stand and sell it. And I knew it was going to be small, so it was a small risk to do. And I had my 8 and 10-year-old, my 2 oldest boys at the time, help me. And I made little T-shirts for them to wear as a dry skin ? Just kind of like the Got Milk movement. And they wore the shirts. They learned how to pass out samples, explain what it was, tell people don't eat it, even though it looks like cheese, it's not, and describe it. And I mean, being able to talk to people face to face and then find out that they have skin issues. And then fast forward now, I didn't know back then that it was really all about the ingredients and the simplicity and how bad other stuff out there is. People are going back to that now because if you go to the dermatologist because you have eczema, they're not going to ask you, what have you tried or what's your diet like or do you have a lot of stress in your life or all of these other triggers that could be causing it, the root causes of your eczema. They're not going to ask you that most places. If you do, you should hang on to them, but they're just going to give you the prescription, the steroid treatment for that. And that's going to fix it, but it'll come back so that people will just be forever on these prescription drugs because they want to get their skin cleaned up, but it doesn't fix the real problem. So now that we have been doing this for so long and we've had so many customers, I know a lot more about what they have to deal with, not because I personally had to, but there's some extreme cases out there where it's a mess because they need that fix and they don't want to do drugs anymore. They don't want the prescriptions anymore if they can avoid it.
Yeah. My daughter has had eczema since she was really little, and believe me, I have tried everything. There was one cream that worked pretty well for her, but we had tried the bag balms and it would keep her comfortable so that she didn't itch, but it's really hard to tell a 9-month-old, no, honey, you can't itch.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She was so uncomfortable. And then when she could articulate herself and she'd be like, "Mummy, itchy," then I knew when, a little more quickly, she needed to have things applied to her, but it was always just at a surface level. Acupuncture helped. We did identify things in her diet that were triggers, but her skin has always been an issue. And now as a teenager, if that poor girl gets stressed, she just breaks out. So we're still working on the root of why it happens, but your rash cream has been such a godsend for her because it is comfortable, it absorbs in, it takes the itch down for her. She uses it all the time. She had a little stressful bout there a few weeks ago before this recording, and her neck was all broken out, and it's so embarrassing when people can see it, Mom. But just a few applications of the rash cream and it took it right down. So
oh, good.
It's so nice to find businesses that are invested in good quality ingredients and simple ingredients. So something that I tell my clients all the time is the fact that our skin brings the properties we put on it into the body. So depending on the numbers that you're looking at, anywhere from 64 to 68% of what you put on your skin goes into your body, and your body is using it, metabolizing it. It's in your system. So when we're putting things on our body that have chemicals and preservatives, and if you look at a lot of lotions, the first ingredient is water.
Yeah.
So you're buying this huge bottle with all the plastic for the bottle and, all of what you think is lotion, but a huge percentage of that is just water.
And which is why you have to keep applying it too. It might feel good at first. The first application feels good. And then an hour later, it just feels like it's back to normal again. It feels that itchiness and the dryness.
Absolutely. And when I have clients that are dealing with eczema, psoriasis, just their skin is just really dry and itchy, I'm seeing that a lot more is some of my clients are moving into their perimenopausal years. As your yin begins to dry, your skin is one of those things that the creams that you used to use, they might not work and you need to use something a little thicker now. And so as the skin changes during these shifts in our lives, being able to keep an ingredient list clean and simple becomes really important because a lot of these fragrances and preservatives are endocrine disruptors. They disrupt our hormones and our hormone expression in our body. And because we're absorbing it and our skin is a large amount of surface area, if you think about your entire body and you're putting lotion from one end of you to the other, if over half of that is getting inside of your system, that's a big load of chemicals that can affect the way that your hormones are expressing themselves.
Yeah. And even with, when you mentioned the rash cream, what we did with that was I was just looking at the Desitin that I was putting on my youngest at the time. And I thought, oh, wait, it has 17, I think it said % zinc oxide. And that was the active ingredient. I thought, well, I knew about zinc oxide. It's in sunscreen. It's a mineral. It's good. It's edible. And so I thought, well, if that's what gets rid of a rash, why wouldn't I try that in a product? And so we would just melt the ingredients and blend that in. And then we decided in that particular product, we didn't need the shea butter. We just had coconut oil, a little bit of beeswax, and the zinc oxide blended in. And it's just perfect for rash. And it's exactly the same ingredient when you see back movies from the 50s and then lifeguards have their white noses. It's the sunscreen made up primarily of zinc oxide, which makes it so white. Ours is not so white that it leaves a whiteness on your face. I mean, you could easily rub it back in, but even that, I tell customers, you didn't hear this from me, but you can use this as a sunscreen, but just know it's very light. And there are a lot more regulations on sunscreen, and we decided we did not want to have to go down that road. But it's one of those things where once you know what makes up a product, you can make your own, or you could just tweak things really easily. It's just a matter of, and I would do that for my family, is just make something that we could use. Whether or not I could sell it depends on the FDA and all of that. But just to know you have so much more control over what you put on your skin than you think. And a lot of people will just use melted down cocoa butter if you're feeling, actually even for stretch marks, cocoa butter is supposed to work really well. Well, if you add a little bit of beeswax, a little bit of coconut oil, and then cocoa butter melted down, it makes we make that into a lotion bar as well. But that cocoa butter works great for stretch marks or for if you've been in the skin too long. So you just research and that's kind of what got me really interested in looking up all these different ingredients, or like a bud block that doesn't have DEET. Things like that you don't have to have the spray. You don't have to have the bad ingredients. You can just do a little bit of research, figure it out. And then it just gets more complicated when you try to sell it because of the regulations. But it's just nice to know that they're out there. And when you see, somebody that's making something that you can actually use and you don't have to worry about the ingredients, just one more thing off, someone's plate, which is nice.
Oh my goodness, yes. I see so many forums, Facebook, moms groups, that type of thing, where they're like, what are you using for bug spray for your kids? Or what are you using for cream? Because the one that I was using, somebody told me that XYZ ingredient wasn't good and it was actually in the one that I had. Or I get questions like that all the time. And your products are a link that I drop in there quite often because they're simple, they're good quality. The products they're so good. Like my hands, so postpartum, I am 41 postpartum, so I'm like perimenopause and postpartum. So let's talk about dry skin, shall we?
I had my last one at 45, so I know exactly where you're. And I'm still not menopausal yet.
I feel like I'm a poster child for dry skin right now.
Yeah.
And my hands were getting so dry just from change a diaper, wash your hands, that kind of thing. And your lotion saved my hands. I was like getting cracks along the sides of my fingers from lifting my water bottle to drink. Like I would grab the handle and like just that imprint on the side of my fingers started to crack. Like it was crazy. And using your products, like it helped to soften the skin. It healed in less than a week. It was so great. Simple ingredients are so powerful. Our ancestors knew so much about how nature could support our bodies. And I love that there's been this big movement getting back to those kinds of combinations.
Yeah. And, when you spoke of your hands, and because I had most of mine as a home birth, the time I did is my youngest, and I was 45 and I had her in the hospital. And I remember the soap and the hand sanitizers. I did not realize that until I came home. I think I had to be there for 3 days. And while I was there, my hands they felt like sandpaper, but even worse, like your hands would snag on your sweater just because it was so incredibly dry. It was like all the natural oils were stripped out of your hands. So really those hand sanitizers, and we knew that, 2020 was a good sales year for us because everybody was using the hand sanitizers. Yeah. And their skin was so dry. And so they needed the lotion for that. But that, and then a lot of times people don't realize that what's in their soap too, because if you don't have, we sell soap, but you can find it at any health food store, farmer's market, but just get the kind of soap that's made with a lye in, and it's been saponified. And then it has all of the ingredients in it that are so good and nourishing for your skin. It has all the oils and butters that are really good for your skin. Because otherwise it's going to be full of detergents. And if you ever just wash your hands with Dawn because you're washing dishes anyway, and it's going to strip your hands of all of that natural oils, and then you get the dry problem again. Yeah, definitely. It's the practices that you have to change too, in addition to switching products. But a lot of times it's just even as simple as the kind of laundry soap, your soap in the detergents and stuff like that have the same oil stripping, unfortunately, detergents and ingredients.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned the Dawn dish soap. I've been known to do that as a quick solution, and I'm sure many of us have done that. And it's true. Your hands feel so painfully dry afterwards.
Yeah.
You had talked about skin conditions and figuring out triggers, and that a lot of people have gone to you for eczema. So what kinds of products do you have in your line specific to eczema? Because that's one that I hear quite a lot, both for kids and adults.
Yeah, and eczema is one of those things where I want to tell people, like, our products won't necessarily or may not actually fix the eczema itself, because usually there is an internal trigger, and we have resources on our website. There's a gal in the UK called the Eczema Expert. If you Google Eczema Expert, she is amazing. I've done webinars with her where I just come on and have her talk, because she's explaining how the stuff inside is coming out of your skin, and that's why you're stuck with this eczema, rosacea, psoriasis. So that if it's extreme, or if it's just something that just keeps coming back and won't go away, and you want to really dig into the triggers, she's one that I would recommend. In the meantime, though, if it's a child or you have somebody with really sensitive skin, and I think that's the one that you said you liked a lot, it's called Bee Silk Junior. And the Bee Silk bar is our standard lotion bar that has the 3 ingredients, the shea butter, coconut oil, and beeswax. But it's heavier on the beeswax to make it more solid. And that if you have eczema and you're able to just easily use the bar and apply it, that could take care of the eczema. But if you have eczema and you're not sure if the bar is too solid for you, I would recommend the Bee Silk Junior, which is softer. And the only big difference is that it has a lot more shea butter in it, and some beeswax and some coconut oil. But the shea butter, I tell you, if I had to be on a deserted island and I could only take one thing with me, it would be shea butter. If you get sunburnt, shea butter is so nourishing for that. It's for so many different skin issues. I mean, you could just buy a little tub of shea butter if you don't even want our product. Just go buy shea butter and lather up. If you have especially when people have like newborn babies, that's probably the most difficult to see. Like a baby like you had could not communicate, and yet you see the redness, you feel the pain. And I would just lather on the shea butter on that baby and see what happens. The difference why we wouldn't just have only shea butter is because it has the coconut oil, which makes it easily absorb. The 76-degree coconut oil absorbs into the skin very quickly and easily. And then the beeswax keeps it a little bit more solid and lasts longer in the skin. Shea butter alone just feels sticky. But if you add the other two ingredients, it absorbs in, and then it doesn't just feel like you're sticking to everything all day long. If you use just plain coconut oil, it tends to just feel too greasy. I've had some people say, well, I just use coconut oil on my skin. If that works for you, that's great. But other people will say that's just too greasy feeling by itself. And so the combination is a nice combination. So I would say between B-Silk Junior and then what we call Simply Soothing, which is our rash cream. That's the one we talked about, the zinc oxide. It has mostly coconut oil and then some beeswax. And those are the only three ingredients in the Simply Soothing. And that takes care. So if the eczema has a lot of redness, then I would go with the Simply Soothing rash cream first, and then you could follow up with the B-Silk Junior over that. And that should pretty much take care of it, and especially in between flare-ups. And I've been told we have people who come because they have rosacea, and that almost sounds like what your daughter has with her neck, if it's the redness and if it's stress triggered. That tends to be more like a rosacea, and we have Simply Shea. I use it on my face as a facial emollient underneath makeup. And it just feels really nourishing. Sometimes if you feel like your face is just super dry, that's what I would use it for. Combination skin, it's still fine. And then also an avocado facial bar, which is actually a soap. It's a goat milk soap made with tons of avocado in it, puree, of all things. That's the one that I have a soap maker who makes the avocado soap for us. I didn't stick with soap making way back in the day. Soap making is a lot more complicated. And so that's the one area that I outsource, and we have different soap makers make our soap for us. But the avocado facial bar is one of our best sellers for having a soap that it doesn't strip the oils and so on. It's really good. Feels good on the skin.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I used the rash cream for my son who had diaper rash the other day. We cloth diaper, and it is something that can be used in cloth diapering. So anyone who may cloth diaper, I would highly recommend this rash cream to be used for that, because the ingredients are really simple. They don't make it so that the diapers aren't absorbent anymore, because that can be an issue with some kinds of diaper rash creams. When you said the Desitin, it triggered my memory that, yes, I actually used it for diaper rash the other day, and it worked beautifully. Something that probably would have taken him several days was almost completely, I noticed it yesterday. I used it all day yesterday, and it was almost completely gone today.
Oh, good.
So as you can see, this is why I'm so excited about Renee's products, because they are natural, they are wholesome, they are multi-purpose, and they're really back to the roots of like how our bodies respond, what our body actually needs, without all of the things that can stand in the way of fertility and create cycle-related problems and other kinds of dysregulated dis-ease in hormonal expression. So if people wanted to find you, find your products and those resources that you mentioned on your website, how can they find you?
Yes, is just hardlotion.com. We tried to make it easy way back when we knew nothing about starting a business, but I thought, if I was a person having to remember a name of a website, what would we call it? Hard Lotion. That's what we named it, and it's hardlotion.com, and everything is there.
I love that. Can they find you on social media as well?
Yeah, same thing. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Hard Lotion. And I'm easily reachable through social media, DMs, or Renee@hardlotion.com. I read all my emails and get back to people. Yeah, especially if you have questions, and I don't always know all the medical answers for specific medical questions, but we have had so many different questions asked that we are tapped into different resources that help people out. So at least we can try to lead you in the right direction.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your beautiful products with our audience. In the show notes, there is a link to be able to check out all of Renee's Hard Lotion line of products. And are there any final thoughts that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I didn't ask you about this before, but I'd be happy to set up a coupon code. Is that something I can give you guys for like a 20% off?
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay. I'll make it easy. RR, because it's Reproductive Rebel. I'm writing that down, so by the time this airs, it'll be all set up. So RR will give you 20% off. And yeah, I would love to answer questions of anyone. And again, I started this because I made it myself from my family, and it's not impossible. If you have other skin issues and you just want to look into things. I mean, the internet is a huge resource. Of course, it can get a little bit overwhelming, but just simple ingredients and simple remedies. You can look things up, find it, make it yourself. But it becomes fun too. It could become a hobby, but it's just, I think, taking control over all those little areas of your life is so empowering too at the same time. So I encourage people to dig a little bit in and then find the companies if you don't have time to make it. We're out here too.
I love that. Well, thank you again so much for your time and your wisdom, Renee. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.